Hey guys, going to talk all things Supercoach with Langers in a minute, but given this podcast does go for an hour and a half, I thought it couldn't hurt to give a bit of a table of contents to give you an idea of what we're talking about and when, so you can catch that in the comments and the description. Langers' channel will also be in the description, so check that out. But we do cover a range of topics. We look at each other's sides, each section of the ground, point of difference players, mid prices. We look at trading and we talk about a number of players across the whole ground. Obviously, it's an hour and a half, so I don't expect you to stick around for the whole thing. Hopefully, you can listen to it over a few days, but certainly time stamping it will at least help you guys get to those 4 or 5 players that you're really interested to hear about. We do cover a lot of players, so not every single one is time-stamped, but certainly the more relevant ones. Some we spent 3, 4, 5 minutes on, others we quickly breezed over. But I've been hoping to do a podcast like this for some time now, something a bit more conversational, bit of banter, and certainly go a bit more general. So I hope you enjoy it. Cheers. Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach. Today we're going to talk all things SuperCoach, and I'm joined by Langers. How are you, mate? You're looking awfully fresh.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks for having me again. It's good to be back for another year.
Give your channel a plug, mate. Obviously, it's not SuperCoach, but give it a plug off the top.
I'm sure you could leave it in the comments or something, but Jake Langenegger Photography for one photography vlog every 3 months. Yeah.
All right, let's have a look at your team, mate. I wanted to compare our teams.
Yeah, well, just a bit of a casual discussion. I mean, obviously, your viewers probably know your team a little bit, but yeah, so starting in the back line, I have actually gone Jake Lloyd, James Sicily, Alex Witherden, Zach Williams, Sam Collins, Jordan Clark, and on the bench, probably a little bit irrelevant, but I've got Riley Grundy and Justin, I think, Kaczynski, Jordan, whatever his name is.
Kaczynski. Yeah, throw to the midfield. That's pretty similar. I mean, aside from Lloyd that I slammed the other day.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's expensive, but I think if you still pick him, he's still going to give you what you want. And I think you know that as well, but for his price, 600 is very expensive for a defender.
Yeah.
I think the only defender I've picked at that price recently was Sam Doherty when he had, he's coming off an All-Australian season.
Yeah. And I didn't pick him back then, and it hurt me.
Yes, so. Well, maybe you should learn from your own lessons, Daniel.
30% of sides, too.
Yeah.
So he's pretty popular.
Yeah, I would definitely... you've gone with Laird, and Laird's obviously a really great option as well. I think they're pretty much the exact same player.
And I reckon Whitfield will actually be the number one.
Yes, yeah. Well, I was tossing up with Whitfield, but I personally just couldn't squeeze 2 giants into the back line. I really would have liked Whitfield, but I just needed to have Sicily, and with that new kick-in rule, I think Sicily is just going to dominate with that. So well,
apparently the other day in the Parfitt, he was taking a lot of them.
Yeah.
All of them, basically.
Well, that's why he's in, Daniel. I reckon he'll really benefit off that.
Judgment, Jake.
Thanks.
Throw us the midfield, mate. What do you got?
So my midfield consists of Patrick Cripps, Clayton Oliver, Nat Fife, Josh Kelly. Got Anthony Miles in there. Sam Walsh is a recent addition to my team.
Yeah.
Riley Collier-Dawkins has been killing the Richmond practice matches.
Yeah.
And I've just got Luke Valenti in at M8, and Tom Sparrow, Riley West, and Michael Gibbons in the bench. But obviously the rookies are subject to change depending on JLT, obviously.
Yeah.
My rucks.
Throw it away.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Big Brodie Grundy in at R1. And I've actually gone Toby Nankervis in R2, who's actually been a favourite of mine the last couple of years. Toby Nankervis, even. And I've got Darcy Fort at Ruck 3. There's been a lot of conjecture about having Darcy Fort. Apparently he's training really well, and he'll be playing some early games at Geelong. But yeah, Nank I think is a really good one to have. I've just found out, well, everyone's found out during the week that Sean Griggs had a knee injury and he won't be playing early games, and he plays a bit of ruck for Richmond, so I don't know if that will affect Nankervis' score at all, but his average has gone up every year since he's been playing, and I think he'll knock over 100 average this year, and a lone hand in the Richmond ruck. The only thing is if he gets injured, obviously then Richmond is screwed, but that's probably a good thing. But.
And there's a lot of talk about Soldo as well.
Big Ivan.
Yeah, about what he's going to do.
I haven't heard anything about him this season. So
the Richmond faithful, they like talking about him. They were on the radio the other day. They were talking about him. So,
do you reckon there's a bit of?
It'd be one to watch. I think.
Yeah. Do you reckon there's a bit of cult figure sort of thing? Ivan Marek, Ivan Soldo.
Yeah, true. He's been building for a bit, but I'll be interested to see. I mean, I've got Goldstein in there, and some people have had Martin and Archie Smith. A lot of talk about that and things like that. Others have gone, well, Mumford previously, or if you want to go someone a bit cheaper,
Well,
there's those options.
We'll probably talk about the Rucks in more depth, because that's I think it's a really tricky one to pick this year.
Yeah.
Especially with Martin being announced as not going to be playing any JLT games.
Yeah.
So that's maybe a concern. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'll just give you my forward line
Carry
quickly. Big surprise, Patrick Dangerfield in the first spot and Isaac Heaney in the second spot.
Couple of risks.
Yeah, I've gone with Josh Dunkley as my third forward. I think he'll have a really good year. I think the Bulldogs will be on the up this year as well. And now that they've got rid of Dalhouse, I think Dunkley will take his role and his average will go up. And he had a really strong finish to the end of last year. I've got Isaac Rankin in the fourth position. I think he'll have a really good year at Gold Coast. I think they'll base their year around all their young talent that they have and give them lots of game time.
Yeah.
I've got Willem Drew in at F5.
Oh boy.
Who, you're a fan of. And Ben Cavara from the Bulldogs, who's a mature age player. And you know how much I love mature age players.
Oh,
and
very much so.
on the bench, I've got Irving Mosquito and Blake Schlenzog, my mate,
Yeah.
in at the moment. Mosquito, I think, is finishing year 12. So I
Pure
don't think-
friendship basis for Blake.
Yeah, just served him at Bunnings a couple of times, so we're best friends now. Mosquito's finishing year 12, so I don't think he'll get any games.
Yeah.
But,
That's just a bit of a fun pick at this point in time.
Yeah, we'll see what the JLT brings us and all the rookies.
Well, that's right. You got no idea with some of those rookies at the minute. Some look pretty. I feel like we've got a few mature age players at the moment, which is good to see.
Last year I spoke about David Mirror before the season, and he came in and played an important role for Hawthorn at stages, but it didn't really translate to Supercoach scoring that well. A couple of games he scored well, and then a couple of games he just was playing like a lockdown role and did nothing, because I think I don't know if Stratton or Birchall or Frawley was even out late in the year, so that really affected his sort of position. But yeah, players like Cavara and Valenti, I think, is a bit older as well. They'll get early games for their teams, and
there's a few at Gold Coast that I'm hearing.
Oh yes,
I think Gold Coast are going to be a bit of a gold mine. Probably about picking the right ones. I think there could be some good options.
Sam Collins, especially. I think everyone should have Sam Collins, as you do, as I can see. I believe obviously he was at Fremantle and he scored really well as a rookie there, and then just left and did nothing for a couple of years.
Yeah. And you've got Anthony Miles, did you say?
I do have
Walk
Anthony
us through
Miles.
that, mate, because I put out a player profile the other day. I didn't exactly say no, but I wasn't all for him. And that's probably just because I like to... If you haven't seen my team, I've got Oliver, Fife, Kelly, Martin and Matt Crouch as my 5
midfield.
premiums. I like to have the 5 premiums and just don't mess around. Go 3 rookies, whatever. But talk us about Miles. What do you want from him?
I just want him to have a crack.
Just get stuck in, mate.
I would expect 80s out of him, consistent 80s, and I know that he's got a high ceiling. And when he came in for Richmond in 2014, basically he summed up that whole 9-game streak that they won in a row to make finals and then lose to Port Adelaide in that final. But he was just playing so well, and then Richmond's game style changed a little bit, I think, and that's when they started getting good, and he just sort of wasn't in from that point onward. I think he averaged 97 and over 100 in the 2 years that he actually played games. And I think being at Gold Coast with the talent that they've lost and the young talent that they've brought in and a sort of changed up midfield, I think he'll be able to play a really good role as a mature player in that midfield. And obviously him and George Holland-Smith and Rankin will probably have massive stints through the midfield. And
Jack Bowes, I heard. Bowes, I don't know exactly how you want to say it. But he dominated the practice game. Really good. And he's been a guy that they talk about as being a player who can step up. And like Waller as well. Could be a guy like that. But I think Miles, I do think he'll be pretty solid. It's just one of my things where
he might be a little bit expensive. For he's almost at, Zach Williams is 400k, and that's not really risky. He's like 342. If he was 310, he'd probably be in more sides. I don't know. He's just a really weird sort of price. But I think he'll still deliver, and you'll make a bit of money and then upgrade him. If he fails. So
that's true, and I think he is going to get plenty of opportunity in the midfield.
There's no other players at Gold Coast.
They're pretty cooked in that department.
No, they do. They announced their captains yesterday, and and their co-captains and leadership team. And there still is some solid talent at that club, and especially with all the new kids they've brought in, I think they'll go on an upward trend. I don't think they'll have many shocking games like they did the last year, because there was a lot of internal angst at the club with like Tom Lynch and Sam May sort of not wanting to be there. And it's like their two best players. I think if they all get on the same page, they'll end up better. And I think because of that, we'll see better Supercoach scoring when they're working as a team a bit better.
Yeah, obviously Lynch and May have gone elsewhere, and they're a bit of a shambles, the Suns, so hopefully they
get Sam Day back,
something.
who hurt his hip, I think, last year, like dislocated the hell out of it.
Yeah,
he's still a really good, and Roy Thompson's there as a good defender, and he goes under the radar a bit. I think we're not talking as much Supercoach now, but as a club, I think they'll benefit from some necessary changes they had to do in Lynch and Sam May going out. And I think because of that, I think we'll see the scoring go up from some of the key players. Yeah,
definitely. I wanted to talk a bit about the forward line, mate, getting back to Supercoach, because like I've said a couple of times in my videos, particularly the third forward and what you do with the other few has been on my mind. I think Dangerfield and Heaney, you just lock them in.
Yeah,
you just lock them in.
Heaney looked so good.
I mean, that's obvious.
In the AFLX. Don't know if everyone watched AFLX. Don't know how much you can take away from it, but Patrick Cripps and Isaac Heaney looked so good. And obviously it's not like full 100% contact, but Heaney looked good, and both of them need to be locked into the forward line, definitely.
Just whipped out the laptop and we're going to the percentages owned, and you've got Dangerfield 66%. I always find this percentage interesting, because if you don't have Dangerfield, you're not taking it serious. So I reckon we can say 66% of sides are taking it seriously. Setterfield 56 and Heaney 44, and I think Setterfield's he played a bit of midfield in the intro of the practice match.
Did he come from GWS? Is
that
correct?
A former, was he a top 10 pick or something? He's pretty high. So there's big talk about him. I think those three, as you can see, they're in a lot of sides. It'll be interesting to see that third player.
This might be me, but I haven't really heard Setterfield's name much this pre-season, so I don't know if that's
I'll throw him into Google, but I did read.
Might be a Shorty thing, and not so much a Langus thing.
Yeah,
but I heard about Sam Walsh killing it in the practice match, but I didn't really hear much about Setterfield.
Yeah, I must say I went looking for it the other day, because I was thinking the same. I was like, is this just a bloke we've locked in, but he's done a hammy or something like that? But I think the AFL website had something about players, their little fantasy thing and being fit and things like that. But so do you have Dunkley in the third?
I do have young Joshua in the third thing. When his role changed to like pure midfielder instead of just forward at the end of last year, and he was averaging like 90 or whatever, as you said in your video. That's what I think he'll be doing this year, especially with Dalhouse going out, and Dalhouse was playing a lot of midfield in his last season at the Bulldogs. So I reckon it might be the year of like young players really coming out of their shell, like Witherden, like Dunkley. Zach Williams is still young. I reckon that the next couple of years is going to be when all these young players start taking over from like your Pendleburys and your such and suches.
Yeah, it's a good point. And it's interesting because we do planes just flying around Charmont.
Just the air show's on, so they're flying over.
I did find the Setterfield thing on the AFL website, blah, blah, blah. While spending the last 12 months out of the game due to an ACL,
that's right,
he participated in the second half of a recent Pracky game against the Hawks, spending the entirety of his game time in the midfield. So it's good to see that he is out there. I think playing, and he's playing in the middle, which sometimes they just give him a chance through there anyway. But
well, at that price, 144, that's still like really rookie priced.
Yeah.
And having that mid forward swing, I can see why he's been picked.
Yeah.
And if he's playing midfield, you can, but you can't really go wrong. You hope that he, scores like consistent like 60s, 70s.
Yeah. And he's clearly talented, so
yeah. A bit older, a bit older, so he should have a bit more experience.
Mixed with opportunity, I think he should be served well. And I've got Tim Kelly in at F3 for myself, and that was something that I didn't come to the conclusion till probably the last week or so. But I just really enjoy the fact that he's playing, will play pure midfield, particularly with Ablett spending time away. Just having a look at a few, like you got Robbie Gray's in 10% of sides. Yeah. I can't trust his body, and a fella in the comments raised a good point that he has played 20-odd games in the last couple of years, but I think he's had an injury interrupted pre-season, and he's just a guy who's
I haven't
always
really
susceptible.
heard much of him this pre-season.
Yeah, I honestly don't think, even if he has played a reasonable portion of the last 2 years, he's forever in that category of he could go at any moment.
Yeah, well,
surely.
that's it. And he's getting on a bit, Robbie. He's probably still Port's best player, which is probably not a good thing for Port. There should be other players that are challenging him at least. But, Tim Kelly looks like a really good option. Again, we saw him in the AFLX, and he looked pretty smooth as usual. He had such a good... I mean, if we're talking about mature age players, he was probably the best mature age player we've seen for a long time.
Yeah.
Last year was such a good season. He almost made All-Australian.
Yeah.
And he almost won Geelong's best and fairest. So I don't think you can ask for much more. Obviously, he could have second year blues and fall down a bit, but he looked that composed and mature in his first year. I wouldn't see him dropping down. If he did drop, it wouldn't be by much, and you'd still be happy with. Yeah, especially in the forward line.
If he averages 90s, it's not a disaster. If it's 91, it's not what we had hoped, but you couldn't see him going too much further than that. And being Cats fans, obviously we watch him pretty close.
Yeah,
and
he looks good at training. A couple of times that I've gone. Yeah,
Ablett and Selwood, obviously they're going to play midfield at times, but there is, as you said, a bit of a shift in Supercoach world to maybe some of the next generation. It's happening in Geelong's side as well. Yeah. So Kelly is definitely in that. Well, he's basically a pure mid, and I heard Scott say that not too many players, if any, will be prioritised over him in midfield.
I think it's hard to sort of say for sure what is going on at Geelong positional wise, but with Ablett being forward, or it being talked about Ablett being forward, that's a pretty much a guarantee that Kelly's obviously going to be in the midfield more, and that's where you just do the damage, and that's where a player like him, who's an elite kick, he's hard at tackling and he's really skillful in and around a context. I think he'll be really, it'll be beneficial for him to stay in there, and I think that there's no reason why you shouldn't pick him in the forward line. Yeah,
and obviously this is pre-JLT, so there's a few things we'll find out. But Mundy, I feel as if has been, in a few forums I read in that, people are talking about, obviously with Blakely out and Neale gone. Yeah. But he's only in 2% aside, so perhaps people's talk when push comes to shove, they're not actually picking him. Dunkley is in 11% of sides. We touched on him. And McLean is right below him at 5.14, and so he's in 6% of sides.
Dunkley and McLean were interesting because McLean started last year like a house on fire.
Yeah.
And then just died at the end of the year, and Dunkley pretty much took all his points. So I don't know if their role reversal pretty much cost each other points, but I think you should have one of them in your team.
Yeah.
Because I think they'll both be playing the same sort of role sort of sometimes forward, sometimes in the midfield. But I think Dunkley at this stage, it's his turn sort of to have that midfield job at the start of the year, whereas McLean started it last year. And McLean, I think, ended up kicking more goals than Dunkley. So I would probably say McLean would end up more forward than in the midfield. So that's a tough one because McLean's going to get picked anyway because he's a pretty good price and he had a good year still, even though he sort of died at the end of the year. But
bloody air show happening.
The start of this video.
I wonder if you can hear that.
10 jets just roared over the top of the
I haven't heard a jet for the entirety of my time at this joint. And we do a podcast with Langers and the air show comes to town. And Dunkley probably went bigger as he chokes on the water. He had some big 130 pluses where McLean is probably beautifully consistent between 90 and 110 until the second half of the season.
When he was consistently getting 60s.
And Beveridge just seems to... We have these coaches that you just wonder about at times, exactly where they see the side.
Yeah.
And Libba coming back, how does that affect things? So there's a little bit to talk about with those guys, and I'm sure you'll be watching Dunkley closely. He's been a guy who's long been talked about. He's hard nosed in and under. When he actually becomes full AFL player, he will be a midfielder. They do that little apprenticeship as a forward and whatever.
And it was players like, this is somewhat relevant, but it was players like Dunkley that won the Bulldogs the premiership in 2016. So he's immediately straight off the bat got a lot of experience, and he definitely has the means to be a good AFL player, but it's as the team and as him sort of progresses in their career and his career. But I think, this is definitely the year where he's going to take that step as being like a proper or normal, just normally good AFL player instead of bit parts. And
you're right, bit parts, And Kelly's right beneath him, the 505 there. 11% of sides. You wouldn't go near Rewalt, one wouldn't think, although 3% of people are. Mitch Wallace, Jesse Hogan, Mitch Robinson, surely not.
Jesse Hogan, I would not be touching at Fremantle.
No.
Unless, and even if he comes out in JLT, if he plays and dominates, but it's just such an unknown, like a key forward at another club.
Yeah.
Even like people are looking at Tom Lynch, who's had an injury-affected pre-season. I wouldn't be like... People are like Richmond. People are talking about Lynch as just like, oh, Lynch is here, just lock in the premiership because we can do what he wants now. But yeah, it's such like an unknown, like a key forward at their own club, let alone going to a new club.
Yeah.
So you can't really
Changes the whole dynamic, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Which is another chat for another day, I suppose. But you never know how Lynch will affect it. Kane Lambert's in there. Wingard, 11% of sides.
I had Chad in my team.
He was up around 20-something percent of sides.
He was. I was really keen on him to just get let loose in the midfield. But then he had that calf injury, and then he pulled out of AFLX. I really would have liked to have seen him in the AFLX because I think he'd be perfect for that format. But as much as I dislike Hawthorn and as much as I dislike Chad Wingard, I would love... Like, he's the sort of player you would go to like a game of football to watch, much like Buddy Franklin. But I would want to see, as a neutral fan, I would want to see Chad Wingard in the midfield for Hawthorn, replacing Tom Mitchell's spot. Yeah. Because there were games he played in the midfield where he had like 30 touches and 1, 2, 3 goals. Yeah. And that's exactly what Hawthorn need. And if they can get him back, if he's back, round 2 or round 3, and he has a couple of good games, that's probably an early upgrade target that people should be looking at, especially at his price, which is not crazy at $4.80.
No, because he's shown on a number of occasions that he can be a premium. It just hasn't been year on year, has it? He's always been one up, one down, and that sort of thing.
And I think he looked, and this probably goes for Dalhouse as well, which people aren't talking about, but I think can be in the sort of Dunkley's sort of range. Him and Wingard just looked so disinterested in their football at their previous clubs before they got traded, and it was so obvious. And like Port had a shocking end to the year, and they all looked like they just couldn't care less. And Dalhouse there was all that thing about Dalhouse and like being unmotivated and so unmotivated, and
which you made a point to prove.
That's the best thing to happen. And there was a case of it. Devon Smith went to a new club, and was he All Australian or was he in the squad? And
if he wasn't, he was ripped off. I can't remember.
I think he did get ripped off. Devon Smith is a great example of a player that's gone to a new club. Not that he hated GWS, but they just had to squeeze him out because of their cap issues. But it changed his career because now he's like one of the best small forwards in the competition. Yeah. And I think that's what happened. That's what can happen to Dalhouse and Wingard in this instance with the new club, fresh start. You get that passion for football back, much like when Dangerfield came back to Geelong as well and just was loving football, and he just played so well.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. And given, I scrolled past Smith because I had gone a bit further beyond that top price range, but he is in 24% of sides, and you got Menegola interrupted pre-season, same said for Buddy Franklin, and if people are looking at Westhoff, they're looking at him in the ruck.
I was keen on Westhoff in the ruck, but
I'm not so keen on him, to be honest. I think he got those points playing more ruck, obviously, and now I don't see that quite happening.
Well, I'm a bit scared of Port in general.
Yeah. Who knows what you're going to get from him, I guess.
Well, that's it. Like, on paper, they've got such a good team, but the end of last year was so disappointing, and they drafted really well, especially Connor Rosie. Yes. He looks really good.
Looks so good.
But I'm just scared of Port, so I don't know.
They're hard to trust, aren't they?
Yeah.
And Michael Walters was a guy that I profiled the other day. I don't know if people will be trusting him. I certainly won't be. I'm just scrolling down.
Well, Freo and Port, I almost put in the same boat because they're
hard to read, aren't they?
What is going on?
Yeah.
Walters was such a good... Like, at times, he looked like one of the best forward options, but then he burned a few people that traded him in, and then he got suspended. Yeah. And he was on 70-something in the last quarter and gave away like 2 50s and got to 40, and then he was suspended, and then he got injured in his comeback game, and that just killed people. Yeah. I think it was like around 15 and 18 last year.
Yeah. It was a disaster. It was reminiscent of Rockcliffe when he smash a rib, be cheap, come back, get his jaw knocked into the next suburb, and all sorts of trouble.
Rockcliffe just epitomises what's happening at Port. Just don't.
And my man, Christian Petracca, You couldn't, could you? I love him. I really do. He's going to be
Well,
a bloke that will explode at some point. I'm telling you.
I said, I think this is the year that the Petraccas, the Zach Williams, the Withertons, the Dunkleys really burst out of the shell. We really thought it was going to be last year.
Yeah.
And you were really big on Petracca.
I was.
And it was a slow burn, but once he got going,
yeah,
he was winning games for Melbourne.
Yeah.
Especially the elimination final versus Geelong. But I do think it is the year of like the 480k player, if that makes sense, because there's a lot of those like young mid forwards and defenders that are like
where they've shown a bit.
Yeah.
They're averaging high 80s, early 90s, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's in 5% of sides. I mean, if there were just a couple of less guns in that Melbourne midfield, I reckon they'd be putting him in there. But I just don't see that he's going to get enough midfield time to warrant you just having the balls to go with him.
And he was meant to start in the midfield last year.
I know.
He did. And then Angus Brayshaw was like, hey.
Yeah.
And then just came in.
I'm going to come third in the Brownlow.
Third in the Brownlow. Christian's like, okay.
I was reading this article because I typed in Petracca news, and it was from last year. I was like, I didn't want to last year's article, but I read it and he's like, I'm going to play 70-30 in the midfield. I'm going to dominate. And I was like, 70% in the midfield?
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
Next minute, he kicks like...
Yeah. Goodwin's like, oh, Christian, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Christian's just going to go through the final.
Yeah. And then probably, you start to get a bit desperate if we're looking at...
Any further down.
Jack Martin could be anything. Jack Billings, I've pumped up. I don't think he's a worse selection, even though people hate him.
I feel like I'm speaking like sage wisdom now, but Jack Billings is another person in that mould of... I think we're going to have a really good year.
Yeah.
And it's the Jack Billings and Dunkleys that are going to take over this year, and Jack Martin as well. I'm actually really keen on Gold Coast. Not so much, we're talking about football, not SuperCoach again, but Gold Coast as a team, I think that they still have a lot of talent, and Jack Martin's one of them who could... Jack Martin would be great in like a draft league.
Yeah,
He's like, I think he'll score well, but like he wouldn't be he's in 1% of teams in Classic, but in draft I think he'll score well for that.
And you can take a punt on a guy like that in draft.
Yeah.
Where SuperCoach Classics is like, you're putting a lot of risk into that, and if it doesn't pay off,
then you're in trouble.
You and that other 1% of blokes are all heading to a cliff. But Jack Billings, I think, has had an outstanding year in, 2017.
Yeah.
And we all thought, myself included, that he would explode. Round 1 scores 130 odd, and then it just all went pear-shaped. But it was positionally based. If he just wasn't playing well, then okay, you'd say, well, who knows what he's going to do. But when he moved back, he got 50-something touches in the VFL, came back, played high up the ground.
And it worked.
And he gets lots of 90s and
Come
things
on,
like
Alan.
that. Yeah, I know.
Stop being smart and just be smart.
Play the
Just
bloke.
play him where they're good.
Exactly. You invest
Play
in...
him where he kicked 3 goals and had 30 touches against Brisbane. Don't move him the week afterwards. And St Kilda were shocking last year too.
That's right. They were
such a poor year.
An absolute debacle. Jade Gresham, a few people are talking about. I love Brandan Parfitt, just above him.
I love Brandan Parfitt.
I think he'll get more midfield time. He's another cheeky one for your draft, but if you pinch him in draft before I do, I'll knock you out. But
he's on my list.
Gresham in just 2% of sides. For the amount of comments I get about Gresham and the amount of talk I hear, I would have thought at least 6 or 7%.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Gresham's one of those players, and we get flashbacks of him breaking Tom Lonergan's ankles and kicking that goal against Geelong. He's one of those players that's just like is sort of an enigma. Like he just has these skills, and I think it will translate well to SuperCoach scoring eventually. But he might just be a little bit like maybe another year or so away to like being a regular sort of Devon Smith kick.
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll probably see. Just the type of player he is, I'm not seeing a major explosion.
Yeah.
He might be that guy who averages 80 and then goes up to your early 90s. And then as he bulks up a bit, because he's a small fella.
He is only small, yes.
Bulks up a bit, maybe Armitage retires, Hanbury's shoulders fall off, and then all of a sudden he can actually get real prominent midfield time rather than just sharing it. And all of a sudden that's when we see a 3-figure, maybe in 2020 or something like that.
Yeah.
But again, it's
when St Kilda start getting better, that's when Gresham will benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he would lead that, but he can't do it by himself. So
yeah, that's right. Now,
yes,
talk ruck to me, mate.
Talk ruck to me.
Discuss.
I had initially picked Max Gawn and Brodie Grundy, and from all reports in the practice game they had recently, the Gawn and Preuss combination worked really well. It might work really well for the team, but I think Preuss being there has scared me off Max Gawn, and I think that's going to happen for a lot of people. Until I see Max Gawn come out and score exactly what he's been scoring, I'm not going to even look at him, unfortunately, because it's too big. Two ruckman is unheard of nowadays.
Yeah,
in a team.
It has to scare you off. I mean, Preuss would have known that at North Melbourne, I know he'd waited a long time, but Goldstein's getting older.
Yeah.
He moves to Melbourne. It wasn't off the back of, we'll see how we go, mate. He's been given some sort of promise, whether it's more forward. You know, I'm sure Melbourne are concerned that if Gawn goes down, who the hell do they have?
Well, that's it. They don't. They don't have another good ruckman. I don't know if Max King is still listed.
Yeah.
Who's the other skinny fella? Tim Smith?
Oh, yeah, there is
a mature age guy. He played ruck a couple times when he came
Joel, I can't even remember, but I know who you're talking about.
But I think for Melbourne, bringing Preuss in will be great for them, because I'm sure it would suit their game plan, but it's just not going to suit Supercoach scoring for Max Gawn, which is so rude of Melbourne not to think about when they're trying to trade. But
I know, and when we saw 127.5 last year, and Preuss isn't going to come across and just be playing twos, and then all of a sudden they draw upon him for AFL. So he needs to be playing some AFL games. So I'm pretty confident he will at some point.
I love how Preuss was salty at North Melbourne for not getting games behind Todd Goldstein, so he just gets traded to the club that has the best ruckman in the comp. No worries.
So savage. And it's also probably worth mentioning with Gawn that how's Lever tracking? He's still having some issues with his body, isn't he?
I have not heard about Jake Lever since he's hit his knee.
I think he was going overseas or something, but
just on holiday.
Yeah,
I'll have to check his Instagram.
He obviously was that intercept style defender, where Gawn was actually playing that role, which was documented by David King at times.
Yeah, thanks, David.
And that's got to help, even if it's just 5 to 10 points.
Well, that's a good point to raise, because when Gawn did patrol the half back line. I think even in the Geelong game he did that. Yeah. When Stanley was beating Gawn, and Gawn was just I've got nothing else to do. I guess I'll just try and go back and mark it. And he got probably an extra 20 or 30 points per game just doing that, especially once Lever went down. And he's such a big fella and such a good mark. It's a good thing for him to have. But I don't know, Sam May's there now too, so that probably is taking that away from him as well. Yeah, and so we've got 32% of sides, which is including Gawn to their makeup, and then you've got Grundy and 44% of sides, and I think Grundy's he's got a bit more durability about him. He's a different style of ruck. He can probably find more of the footy midfield numbers style. Good hit out player, but Gawn we can see dominate with the hit outs and more so dropping back with the marks, where Grundy will... He's very aerobic. He can do a lot of things, whereas Preuss is just your straight ruck.
And Grundy's just going to find heaps of the ball. And like I've said previously, you've got to have one of them, and it's just become really obvious that it can't be Gawn. There's too much risk, and it's got to be Grundy, even though we're paying $700K, which is sort of Dean Cox style numbers. But I think, previously... I've been burnt by not forking out that sort of coin. I know Grundy's only done it on this one occasion, but you almost feel as if you don't go with him, you could be left behind. And hey, even if he does fail, most of the competition's going down with you, I guess, because he's in every decent team that I've seen.
Do you remember last year when you put a video out saying don't pick Brodie Grundy and get Stefan Martin instead?
It wasn't quite like that.
Pretty sure that's what happened to me, and I ended up picking Martin, and he just was terrible. And Grundy was just bang, 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 and then he was just too expensive to get. And there was about 7 million angry 14-year-olds with pitchforks in front of your house. Thanks, Shorty, just ruined my season.
I had Grundy all the way up until a week or so before the bounce, and it was just one of those things where you go, well, you got Mason Cox there. There's really no one who I think's going to cramp the style of Stefan Martin,
Except himself.
Never in my wildest dreams did I think a 130 average. I thought if it went wrong that Martin might average 105 or whatever like he did, and Grundy might average 110, 115. Yeah. And it's not brutal where he just goes out and tops the competition.
130. Yeah. This is 130 there on the computer.
Yeah. It was brutal. But
if you want to compare Grundy and Cox to Gawn and Preuss, Cox is such a mobile forward. He's not a ruckman. He was there he literally, as Bruce said in that final against Richmond, he was changing the game. Yeah. With because no one could match his high marking, and he like marks within 30 metres, goes back, kicks the goal.
Yeah.
And that's what they recruited him for, because they haven't got a tall forward.
Yeah.
They don't. They don't have Travis Cloak anymore.
Yeah.
Bruce is just like a straight ruckman that's just going to be taking points off Gawn.
Yeah.
So if people want to say like, oh, well, Cox is going to be taking points off Grundy, well, we saw last year that wasn't the case because they recruited him for like a forward role. So
And they've found their mix.
Yeah.
Moore's down back.
Oh yeah.
Cox is dominating in attack. Grundy's the main man in the
Stephenson.
ruck. Where
I love Stephenson.
where there's a few more balls in the air when it comes to Gawn, but moving elsewhere in terms of, because we've locked in Grundy, number one man. Who the hell are you going to get to support him? Obviously, you got Martin there, 8% of sides. Goldstein in 15% of sides. A bit of yesterday's hero. Obviously, I think many of us, myself included, probably thought he was done and dusted in terms of selecting him days.
He was like the best player in the competition like 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, remember that 128, I think it was? I'm just going to...
Remember that 221 when I had him as captain against Essendon?
Yes.
And it was like Sean McKernan was like, hi, Todd. And Todd was like, hi, Sean.
I'm going to dominate
like 30
you.
disposals and like however many hit outs. He had like 60 or 70 hit outs that game.
Yeah.
And Essendon just got pummeled. I think that was when the whole supplements thing was. And they had all their fill-in players maybe, but...
2015 was his enormous year where he nudged 130 average, and then he's been 108, then 94, and I think that was when everyone sort of felt, well, maybe he's been great, but probably not for us. We're now the back end of last year, which was, I think he averaged 110 in the last maybe 11 or 12.
He has the form. He just had one shocking, terrible year, which I think North had a terrible year as well.
Yeah.
But he looked so just unconfident in his football ability. It was crazy because it's like this is like literally the best player of last year, and he's just left. But I think North looked really good last year.
Yeah.
And Goldstein looked good.
Yeah.
There was a couple of games early where he wasn't, but then they hit their straps and like they were like, all right, they're making finals and they're doing really well, and
And there's no concerns about sharing the ruck. I mean, is it Tom Campbell's there on the other bloke, basically?
Well, they recruited him as backup, I think, and
and
like hopefully Magic Door gets back to play and he can play ruck if need be. Ben Brown can play ruck.
And Goldstein thrives on being the man. He loves that workload, and he will be the man, as you said. So I think he's in my side. I'm sure he'll come into your considerations at times.
No,
I'm straight up. You're going Nank.
No, Nank. I reckon is such an underrated pick. He's in 2% of teams, Daniel.
It's a POD, mate. That is POD.
That's a pod. Yeah. I reckon he's going to score. Just like I don't even need him to score well. I just need him to score solidly. If he can average 98.2, which is what he's averaging now, great. But I think his average is going to get over 100. If he can get to 105, sick.
I think 105 is that sort of mark we don't mind.
No,
from a ruck.
But yeah, I think what Goldstein's 550. Nankervis
butchers it.
Nankervis is 530. Yeah, I think he's a good pick, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say if Steph Martin and Goldstein play, then Nankervis is going to score the same as them.
All right.
Yeah. And if they do that, I'm happy because he's just a random that no one's going to pick. And I'll be like, hey, Toby, how you going in R2? No, that's right. You just keep doing your thing. I'm just going to leave you there and then eventually upgrade you to Gawn if you have a bad game. So
I didn't need your life story, mate, but we'll move on. So who else we got in the ruck?
It's actually Toby's life story.
Yeah. You couldn't really consider anyone else. I mean, people talk about your mid-price ruck. And that is fraught with danger. Matthew Leuenberger.
Don't.
Tom Bell-Chambers.
Can I give you...
Oh my God. The only one who's worked as Sandilands. Go for it.
Can I give you just a really, out there, thing?
I'm going to... Can I guess who you're going to say?
Yeah, I think you know.
Jarrod Witts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what is happening between me and Gold Coast today.
Yeah.
Gold Coast... I don't know, I feel like Jarrod Witts is like the only ruckman at Gold Coast. I don't know if Tom Nichols is even still listed by Gold Coast or he's been injured for 2 years.
Yeah.
But he's the co-captain.
Yeah.
And he's that for a reason. And he played really well last year. I think I had him in draft last year and he again, we're bringing back the draft numbers.
Yeah.
But no, he just, He's going to score really solidly. If you need money to put towards like another midfielder or another forward, just put Jarrod Witts in your team. He's going to score like at least 80 every week, and he'll be pushing 100 every week. And with Gold Coast revamped midfield and all these young guns, I think he'll benefit from having that extra young talent at his feet. I think.
I'm starting to wonder if you've got a Gold Coast Guernsey under that tightly fitted white tee. No, it's a fair point, and he has.
It's actually a large. I'm just filling it out.
94. The prospectus has him down at
averaging 94. See, you take 94 at 480k.
Yeah, and you're right. Sometimes players with that extra responsibility of being in that real leadership role, they do thrive.
Yeah, well, I reckon he's gonna.
So he would. And he's in 3% of sides. I mean, you scroll through most, and they're generally 0 or 1%, which means who really cares. But when you're in 3, it means a small sample are just going a little left field.
3% of people are smart, Daniel. I reckon Jarrod Witts is a really smart pick if you just want something out of the blue.
Yeah, well, I think if you're not super confident in spending 500 plus K on some blokes, then you might want to go elsewhere. And I think
I don't think Sandilands is a good pick.
No,
he's too old.
He's struggling anyway. At the minute, I think there's a calf concern again. Like
who knows?
Yeah, I mean he couldn't go near him. But Sean Darcy, not for this year,
the big boy.
But he'll be a guy that I think is going to be pretty good at some point. When Sandilands goes, clearly. Yeah,
we saw him play down in Geelong. His arms are huge.
He's a big unit.
He's like 19 years
old. Yeah.
He looks like Mumford and Sandilands' love child.
He does, doesn't he?
Loves his sausage.
Sam Jacobs in 4%.
Yeah, no.
4% of sides.
Sam Jacobs and Adelaide, I'm not touching. Either of the Adelaide sides.
Wouldn't go near it.
There's something in the water at Adelaide and it's not good. Because they've just had shocking years. Adelaide died in the grand final.
Yeah. And then got blindfolded in a bus.
Wow. Yeah, look, they might come back a little bit, Adelaide as a team. I don't think Jacobs is going to benefit from that. They don't really have another ruck option, but I just don't see anything good in Adelaide, unfortunately.
People love to look back at that year he averaged 115 and go, oh my God, if he gets back to that. But it's never going to happen.
No.
Yeah, it's once off. No. It's not going to happen.
He's a great player, and he's still going to be a good ruckman, but he just doesn't translate to SuperCoach scoring. He might have the odd 150.
Yeah.
Because he's a really, really good hit-out boost.
Yeah.
But, he's not an option, I would think.
Matthew Kreuzer. I don't think we'd go near. As soon as he had an interrupted pre-season, line through him. But
the poor bloke.
He's a very, very good player and priced at 432. 4% of sides. So again, people are having a ponder, but too risky. Just too risky.
He's never had a clean run at football.
No.
Poor fella.
And I really hope he does. Like where he has been outstanding. But then you go and it's like, off 12 games. I think he's had 1 year where he maybe played 19 or 20. The laptop's out of control here.
And he's one of the players that he needs to play for Carlton to get better. And he needs to play 25 games, or assuming they make the grand final.
25 games.
He needs to play 20 games. He needs something. He's averaged over 100 once. And that was from 21 games.
Yeah, and that's the clear. 2017 is the clear season. 16 games for 97.9 in one game.
Yeah.
In 2014, and he averaged 92 in 2012. I mean, I think we feel like we always talk about him as, is this going to be his year? The bloke's nearly 30.
Yeah, he's been around for a while, actually.
He's been around for a long time.
29 year and 9 month, according to FootyWire.
FootyWire.com, but I don't think we could go him. Purely there's too much concern. If he went through pre-season, was killing it, finally had a
that's the thing, we haven't heard, from the practice match. Matthew Kreuzer has killed the practice match.
Yeah.
And then we'd be like, hello. But even then, it's like, your hamstrings are zip-tied on.
Yeah.
I don't really trust you.
Exactly. I dare say he's being managed, as they say.
What's that? Ryan Abbott will be All-Australian Ruck this year.
Gets out of here. Not a chance. You bloody love him, though.
I think we need to talk about Shane Mumford.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Don't pick Shane Mumford. Next topic.
I agree. Why spend any more?
Don't pick him.
Well, why would you?
Don't touch him.
And there's these insane theories that I'm hearing, like maybe I can have him on my bench for the first. No.
Don't. He's too old, firstly. He should have stayed retired.
Yeah.
Secondly, he's all of a sudden like a serial killer. Because he's just murdered that guy in the practice match and they're just contesting his bench.
Yeah.
And he's got...
Tell you what, he's good on a night out, though.
You got video footage to back that up? Or, don't pick him. If you're thinking about it, don't.
Well, there's 9% of pricks who are going, settle down, boys. Get him out of your side.
It's the name. They're looking at his name and picking him. They're not looking at it. They're not looking at it realistically.
As we stand here, he's missing the first 3 after copying an extra week. They'll challenge it as you informed me today. But even so, he's been out of the game. Yes, the ruck's a position where maybe you can spend time out. If you're a midfielder and came back, it'd pass you by.
Yeah.
But there was talk that in that practice game anyway, he looked a little bit behind it. I know he's been boxing like a madman, but I don't think he's up to just coming straight back in and averaging what he did. I think that's crazy.
The only thing I heard from the practice game was that he belted that guy. So I didn't hear Andy kicked a goal. Yeah.
Well, I heard, I can't remember who it was, but a tweet was, looks like the game's a little bit quick for Mumford at the moment, you know. Yeah.
But he was slow anyway, and he was only a hit out. And I suppose it balances out because GWS's midfield is so quick and fast, you don't need to. But he doesn't kick goals. No. He just sort of marks. He tackles well. Yeah. So he's like another big-bodied midfielder, but you just run around him and it's Poor Dawson Simpson's like, oh yes, Mumford's retired. I can finally get number 1 ruck. Next minute, Mumford comes back full of adrenaline and with a boxing career under his belt, and he's like, okay.
He's been a bridesmaid for his entire life. Only thing he's known for is butchering that handball to Selwood or whatever against Brisbane, and then the miracle on grass unveiled itself. Shout out to Dawes, I do like him.
And his dog can open the fridge for him and get a beer, so that's pretty cool too. But that doesn't translate to Supercoach scoring.
No, it doesn't. Tim English, don't pick him in your classic. But I tell you what, if you want to look at a guy for draft, if you're slim pickings or you want to back up, I really like him.
He wouldn't be the worst pick for Ruck 2.
No.
If you wanted to spend that money elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because he's going to play probably most games, because he's probably their number 1 ruckman.
He's going to take number 1, and I think
they
if you
traded Roughhead to Collingwood.
Yeah.
And who else have they got in the ruck? Boyd plays ruck. Okay, so he's going to be playing forward and not playing ruck. So
and English is your classic skinny prick who's come to the club.
Tim, how you going, you skinny prick?
He comes to the club. He doesn't have any muscle on him. No, takes a long time. Opposite of Sean Darcy, who's a man mountain. English is going to take a bit of time. He's not going to come out and average premium numbers this year, but he could definitely make you 150k if he catches fire.
His career is just going to be like a slow burn. He's just going to get better every year once he gets... And he played good games last year. Yeah. He played good games as a skinny fella.
Yeah.
Dare say had much like...
Some say fella.
Guthrie played some good games, but then he played...
Shout out to Tyson, who
Shout out to Jordan Roughhead to kick that point up.
Jarrod Roughhead. I don't really think there's too much else to talk about with the ruck. I mean, Naismith was discussed, but he's injured.
There's pretty much 5 ruckmen you pick from.
Yeah.
And there's maybe 3 pods that you pick from.
Yeah, and it's interesting to throw a few names around. Every man and his dog will have Darcy Fort for obvious reasons. I think he's
and that's another thing we should probably bring up too. Do you put Tony Alango, even though he got delisted? Do you put someone like Tony Alango in your ruck 3 and just use him as a loophole?
It's very interesting.
Or do you put Darcy Fort in? Because how often does it happen that the ruckmen sort of miss? They're normally pretty durable, unless you got Kreuzer or Sandilands. You don't really change.
It's a good point.
And if you do have to change it, like when Max Gawn did his hammy a couple of years ago, and it was like, crap, you just trade him for Grundy.
I think...
You just trade him for another premium ruck.
And I think the floating donut's a good thing to have, because to use that VC loophole can be crucial. Yeah. I think what will happen, I don't think Darcy Ford will play round 1.
No.
But I think he'll get games at a certain stage. So he's a good guy to have. He'll be your floating donut for the first 3, 4, 6, 7 weeks.
Make some money.
And then after 7 weeks, you're going to have a natural donut anyway.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're doing well. So I think he's the sort of guy who'll give you that donut option. Langs with the puns. But I think at some point, he'll play, he'll do all right, he'll give you that donut option at times. And at other stages, you'll just have guys who are missing anyway, because we always have rookies who get dropped after a month or something. Yeah. So your natural floating donut gets created anyway.
You'll have a donut anyway, don't worry.
Yeah.
Your mid or your 8th defender will be your donut.
Yeah, exactly. So handy to have rather...
Curtly
Hampton. It's funny to talk about some of those names from the past that just burn you, you know. Some of the guys you picked, I mean...
Do I pick Curly Hampton, or do I pick what's his face? The other
Sale.
no, the
Wayne
other
Malira.
Adelaide. No, Andy Otten. Remember when it was like the choice
Andy
between
Otten,
Andy Otten and Curly Hampton?
Yeah,
and
that's
Curly's
right.
like, yeah, I'm going to pick this like young running defender instead of like Andy Otten, who's like falling apart. And Otten scores.
Yeah.
He's like averaging 100 at one stage.
I didn't think he was
during the year.
capable of scoring an 80, and then he comes out and averages 90 odd.
One, yeah, like 3 like 110 scores plus, and then like 80 every other game. Anyway, Darcy Fort, from a Geelong perspective, is a mature age recruit. If he gets early games, it will be beneficial because he's experienced and he'll play some good games. And I think that will translate to, that's my word of the day, translate to SuperCoach scoring.
I like it a lot, mate.
And another forward target, if we, like, I know we've got, you know, Geelong might have Radigalia or Buzzer alongside Hawkins, but, you know, Ablett should just be our second forward target, and Fort can float down there while Hawkins is off, or something like that.
Yeah. And
Fort.
Look, we've discussed the forwards, we've discussed the rucks. I think they're the most interesting ones.
Would you like to talk about the midfield, or?
Yeah, we can. I think the back line's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
I think we agree on that, and I think
there's plenty of good.
We can
picks,
spend little time on that. There's so many options. The midfield is clearly something that there's always options, and I want to say off the top, Macrae and Cripps aren't in my team. Copped a little bit flack in my team update.
I can understand the Macrae one because he's had one really good year.
And I'm strong on the Macrae. Sorry to cut you off, mate.
No, that's fine.
He is not a lock. He is not a lock. People get so obsessed with the last year and say he will definitely average similar. I don't think he'll average 115. And if he averages 110,
that's a big call.
That's still a good year. Yeah. But I don't think he'll average 115 or anything
mark
higher.
Down the time and date, so we
mark down. But you see it, you know,
Yeah.
Josh Kennedy averages 120 one year. Then the rest of his career he's less than 113, 114. Still great numbers, but not as good. We see Beams go super high.
Yep.
1 year.
It's really
back
hard
down to 111, 112, 113.
What did Macrae average?
127.
You're not
that
going
ain't
to do
happening.
that back to back.
That is not happening.
That's a good. I agree with that.
I mean, who's done that? Scott Pendlebury, Gary Ablett.
Dane Swan.
Fife did it twice. Dane Swan. We're talking the very elite.
Like, I hope he becomes like an elite player. But like the Bulldogs, they would sort of just be pushing for the 8. It's sort of like
And Libba coming back. We talk about Dunkley. We talk about McLean.
Yeah.
There's a few things going on in that midfield.
Bontempelli had a shocking year by his standards, and
So it just makes me wonder. But I just wanted to put that right on record. I don't have Cripps just because I don't have him. I love Cripps. You know that. I've gone Oliver. I think Cripps will dominate. I think he could average 120. Why don't I have him? I don't really know. I've gone Oliver. Does the fact that I think Carlton are going to suck concern me a little bit? Maybe, but they sucked last year. So I don't really know exactly why he's not in my team. I just feel a little bit more comfortable with Oliver.
Yeah, that's fine.
It saves me 40 or 50k. And if I were to get in Cripps, then where am I getting that other 40
if you had Cripps in your team, you probably wouldn't be able to have your 5 deep midfield. You probably only manage 4.
And I probably have Billings instead of Tim Kelly.
Do you want that?
No, I don't. And you know, you've got to make cuts elsewhere. So I suppose in a perfect world, you might, but just the way the structure's gone, I don't have him. But
I'll argue for my friend Patrick here. I mentioned to you during the AFLX coverage that he was the same height as Jonathan Brown. So that's it. That's why you have to pick him. No, he looked really good during AFLX. Again, I don't know how you translate that to SuperCoach scoring in AFL, but he looks just absolutely primed and ready for a massive season. And if he starts having stints up forward and kicking goals while he's resting instead of resting on the bench, golly, watch out, because that's just going to be like an extra 20 points per game.
No one loves Cripps more than me.
Are you sure? Because it sounds like you hate him because he's not in your team.
Last year I pumped him up like no other, reaped beautiful rewards. Years back on old Tizio 100, I pumped him up as a guy who'd played 3 games.
Daniel, I think you're just hating on him because you traded him out before he scored 172. Is this a thing? Are you not taking him because he's burnt you in the past?
I know. Yes, that was one of my more painful memories. I've sought therapy and I'm over that, but I have forgiven him, and he served me very well last year. I don't know. There's just something in the back of my mind that just says he has to shoulder such a workload. Can you do that back-to-back years? I think Oliver and Cripps will have similar, if not 1 to 2 to 3 points either way. And it's just served me a little better with the coin. But
every year for the last 3 years, while Cripps has been really good, Carlton have recruited midfielders to help him in the midfield, and it's helped him more and more each year. And Sam Walsh coming in, he looks like a ready-made 200-game player. I think that might help him. And Zach Fisher running through the midfield. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. And I've got the 5 premiums, as I said, off the top. And I like that because I know you're spending big coin in the midfield, but they're the most reliable guys. They're only really the guys who are capable of 110. Other positions, you've only really got, say, Lloyd and Laird, maybe Whitfield because he's midfielder now, and Dangerfield and Heaney. Probably the only other guys. I mean, the Rucks obviously can go huge, but there's not too many guys elsewhere that can average those sort of numbers, and you can have a fair bit more confidence in them. History says that midfield is always the highest averaging position, so I'm happy to spend, the best part of, $550K on each bloke and a couple over 600. So
Talk Dusty to me.
Well, he had that 1 year, which we say
The Brownlow year.
one of the best years of all time.
Yeah.
Of all time, and I think that was an average of 118 or 119 off the top of my head. I'm looking at that saying that's something like I want him to get back to. Something along those lines. He's priced at 560, which is just so cheap because everyone talks about him
Standards.
as the top 3 to 4 player in the competition.
Probably still number one.
Yeah, you could argue he's number one. He's powerful. He's a beautiful kick. And I didn't watch every Richmond game last year, so I can't say for sure.
Except both of the Geelong ones that we
my
lost.
my sense on him, just watch out for your phone, drop it in the ocean again. I hope you post that on your channel to give a bit of context now, but maybe in a couple of months. But Martin last year, my read on it was that he had niggles at times, started the year brilliantly, ended the year brilliantly, but there was probably a 10 to 12 game stretch where he was just okay, and I felt like he was just going through the motions, almost like Richmond were winning well. I don't need to do anything too outrageous. It almost looked to me like he was comfortable to get the job done, where in the year before he was really on a mission. I just wonder now that the Tigers have a point to prove. It's a bit airy-fairy to say that sort of stuff, but on a less airy-fairy note, I reckon he was carrying some sort of a niggle, which was talked about at times. Yes. And I think Tom Lynch coming to the club will help him too. Because you think it won't.
I think it won't. And this, just for the sake of the argument,
devil's advocate here.
I think Tom Lynch going forward will negate Martin's scoring. He's still going to kick his goals from the midfield, sure, but I think he won't goal as much resting forward now.
See, my read on it was that him playing forward didn't benefit him that much. I felt as if sometimes he went cold.
I'm just going to look up quickly how many goals he kicked in last year? 2018. That's the one.
I just feel as if when I'm picking a midfielder, I want him at the centre bounce all the time, as much as possible. He'll rest there at times, but I just really like the fact that Martin can play where he's most damaging, and the Tigers will be on a mission to get back to the top of the mountain. And I think at 560, we all know he's way better than that.
He kicked 31 goals last year.
Yeah.
So that's average of 1 point whatever a game.
Which is great.
Yeah, which is great. But I think that's going to go down.
I know, and I think it definitely will go down. So what's a goal worth? 8 points or something in SuperCoach and effective kick. So that's 12 points.
Rounded off to 10 or 12 points a game.
And while we'll say he loses that, how long is he? So he's resting for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
He gets 12 points and maybe another touch. What if that 10 minutes is spent in the midfield, where he gets a tackle, a goal assist, an effective kick, a little handball? I just think, exactly. I think even though you're getting those goals and they're chunky and they boost you up from that one touch, I think there's a chance he could get a few more tackles, get in the stoppage a bit more. It's just a theory of mine. I really like it.
I don't disagree with you at all, mate. Champ. But I think it's not so much just singular goals, but it's when he kicked multiple goals in a quarter and was a game breaker.
That's a very good point.
And I don't know the official statistics for this, but I'm pretty sure there is a combo for when you kick goals. If you kick 2 or 3 in a quarter, you get 50 points. Yeah. So I think that's when he might lose out on some points.
Yeah.
That little.
I enjoyed it thoroughly, champ.
No, but I don't disagree with you. I don't think Dusty's a bad pick at all, but I personally don't have him. Just thought I'd let you know.
No, you've made that pretty bloody clear. But so if you look at our midfield, you've got Miles at F5, What about differences? So you don't have Martin, you don't have
Let me
Crouch.
just get my team up, Daniel.
You've got
Just gotta
Cripps
open
and
this
you've
phone.
got Miles, which can't be compared 1v1 because you've got a premium that I don't
Yeah, I've
elsewhere.
got Cripps, Oliver. So the similarities, we've got Oliver, Fife, Kelly, and
Yeah.
Walsh, and you've got
Yeah.
Collier Dawkins on the bench.
Yeah,
So your
yeah.
differences are Crouch, Martin, and no Cripps.
Yeah. And those rookies will sort themselves out. No, look.
Yeah,
I
they
think
will.
I think Kelly is a juicy proposition.
Joshua.
So
Apparently, he's
juicy.
going to re-sign for 2 years at
Yeah,
GWS. so-
yeah. And I mean, we don't have to sell the case of these premiums because everyone knows it. But I think Fife, don't get concerned about that elbow. I think that's not going to affect his fitness base or anything like that. They reckon he'll be back training in a week or something like that. Is there any point of difference, guys, that you might like? I thought Lachie Neale was point of difference. Then I see he's 16% of solids.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of Lachie Neale fans.
Yeah.
He's been a pretty consistent player the last couple of
Jack
years.
Watson probably being the number one.
Especially now he's at Brisbane.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about Brisbane this year. He's $607,000. That's
That's a lot of money.
yeah, it's a lot. I wouldn't pay that, to be honest,
No.
for Lachie Neale without a guarantee that he's gonna. Yeah, sure. Like he's filling Dane Beam's hole. But
Throwback to previous episodes on
That
Physio 100.
I don't think. But you know who else has gone to Brisbane? Is Jarrod Lyons,
True, that is true.
who
I think he could
would
thrive.
be a great pick for draft.
Yeah.
I think he will not help because they're both like ball magnets. They're
Yeah.
both like Tom Mitchell's.
Yeah, they're very similar players.
Yeah, except Neil's good and Jarrod Lyons has just been waiting to actually have a chance for 6 years. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's look through the mid.
I'll tell you who's Mitch Duncan.
Oh, I've wanted to pick Mitch Duncan
Yeah.
every year of Supercoach, and I never pick him, and he always just.
Yeah.
If I could have him like, no one can see me pointing at your computer screen, but if I could have him as my mid five, I would love to. But there's just so many good options at mid five that
Yeah.
you're like,
106
Love
last year, 1% of size. He's a genuine POD. If you wanted to go with someone, I almost would, because our midfield, and we know the Cats bloody well. Dangerfield, Duncan, the main men in there. It's a myth that he's an outside player. He can
He's
win
a
on the inside.
big boy.
He's better on the outside because he's a beautiful kick.
He's a delicious kick.
Gorgeous
Daniel.
kick, but he can win it on the inside. Look at the stats. It's a
Yeah.
myth. He's
Yeah.
worked on that game really well.
Yeah.
I think it averaged 110, or maybe even only goes up a couple of points. That's
And-
still pretty good.
And with Selwood coming to the twilight of his career
Yeah.
and apparently playing more off half back or off the back of the centre
Yeah.
square, I think midfield Duncan, Mitch Duncan is like the out and out. I would almost say a big call. I would almost say he'd be our number one midfielder this year.
yeah, I
Because
mean,
Dangerfield's like Duncan's not going to go forward. Dangerfield's going to spend time forward.
yeah,
Kelly and Duncan will be like the main midfielders this year, and I think both their averages will go up because of that.
Mm.
And like obviously when Dangerfield's in there, he's just going to like get in there and go like nom 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 and like take everything. But when Duncan's going to be like there 100% of his game time.
yeah. Well, when you talk positions, you talk first and secondary positions. Duncan is a midfielder.
Doesn't have a
He
second
might come
position.
off the half-back line and
because
just
he's
run
such a good
through.
kick. Yeah, and he does. He's quick too. He does that and bounces.
Dangerfield's midfield time will go up.
Yeah.
That's been well documented, but he still will play forward.
Absolutely. Well, you
At
can't
times.
not have him as a forward.
Yeah, he's an option.
He's like, if you kick it to Dangerfield on a one-on-one, it's a goal.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Like 61% of the time, it would be a goal.
Just ask Dane Rampy. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
How good were all the goals that Dangerfield kicked in that grand final? Oh. Yeah.
Savage.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't endorse picking him, even though it sounds like I would. I just reckon keep it bloody simple, know what you know in the midfield. But I tell you what, if you want a point of difference, he's not a bad guy. Just
I was
having
really
a bit of a
big
look
on
at a few others.
Mr. Bontempelli.
Yeah, you were.
I'm always
He's burnt me before.
Yeah, I know. I was always a big fan. Again, he looked good in AFLX. Appreciate that goal, sort of after the siren to knock the bolts out of the grand final bond.
Apparently,
but,
Paddy was actually fairly.
yeah, he
pissed
was
off.
a bit salty,
Yeah.
and he was trying to pass it off as not, but he was.
Yeah.
But again, like Bontempelli, I need to see something first before I put him in. And if I was to put him in, I'd have to get rid of. I wouldn't get rid of Cripps, Oliver, Fife, or Kelly. I would get rid of Miles,
Yeah.
and then sacrifice maybe like Rankin or something, and like take it out of my forward line, or
Yeah, you'd have to pinch from a couple of
I
spots.
would,
wouldn't
yeah,
you?
and like I would definitely put Bont instead of Miles, but I think
Yeah.
Miles is almost going to score the same as Bont, so
True. I mean,
maybe like
yeah.
10 points less a game
Yeah.
for like $200,000 less.
And we all know the guns, so we're not. As I said, there's
Yeah, they're
no
right
point
here. They're right
filling
here,
out
Daniel.
that top four for you well. But there's no point telling you who to pick from the premiers. So we might throw a couple of those point difference names, and I think Dane Beams.
Yeah.
You know,
Or
if you back his body in, I think he's just a guy when he's fit, he averages 110 or thereabouts.
Same thing as when Dangerfield came back. He's back at Collingwood. He obviously went to Brisbane for a difficult time in his life.
Yeah.
He probably didn't want to go to Brisbane.
Yeah.
And now he's back home, and I reckon
He's happy, yeah.
he's home. He's happy. Dangerfield's going out for a surf on his
Yeah.
on his surfboard with his tuxedo,
In his
and
suit,
Beams
yeah.
is home in like the Collingwood streets, and he'll love it. He'll love it. I reckon he'll have a really good year, and that would be a great point of difference option.
Zach Merritt.
Oh my gosh,
One of my
you love Zach
favourites.
Merritt.
One of my favourites.
Will
And he's a guy who's done it before twice.
Will the arrival of Mr. Shield affect Mr. Merritt's point output?
It'll help him.
It will help him.
I think it'll help him.
Okay.
Let me tell you why, and it's not as
Tell me a
easy.
story, Daniel.
It's not as simple as Shield comes, gets a tag, Merritt scores well.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as that.
Could be.
But I think Shield, just because he's more of a damaging player, you know, Merritt's
On
probably
the outside.
death by 1,000 cuts. You know,
Yeah.
he'll get it out to guys like Shield.
Yeah.
He's not an absolute beast inside, but he's very good in and under.
Merritt is like literally the exact same player as Tom Mitchell.
Yeah.
Literally the exact same player.
You have those dominant outside or guys who hurt you more on the outside, kick goals, like a Kelly comes to mind, even though he does them both.
Yeah.
And then you've got your Mitchells, your Crouches, your Rockcliffs back in the day.
Yeah.
Your Merritts, who
Yeah.
just rack it up. They get 7 tackles, 34 touches, 120 points. But back on the Shield thing, I think if Shield gets going, he's the sort of guy who is taggable, and he's more of a flashy player.
He hit the work that Shield does results in scores for other players.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he's like that link man, I
Yeah.
would think. And I can definitely see Heppel, Shield, Merritt becoming like a dynamic trio.
Yeah,
Terrific trio.
I like that.
Thank you. In the middle.
Not quite the Holy Trinity, but they're terrific.
Wow. The Holy Trinity has
They
yet
can't
to...
win a clearance, yeah.
Oh, God.
And I think Merritt, you know, sure, of course, if he's dominating, then you're going to move a tag to him. So it's not like he's just never going to get tagged, and he has struggled with that. But I think he worked on that in the back half of last year, got better at it. And when you look at his average of 100, it's not that bad because he got knocked out. I think we were at that game where he scored 17 or
The
something.
Merritt one?
Yeah, he got
When he
knocked
got
out
knocked out
against
against
Adelaide.
in round one.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
So in essence, he's got an average of 103 or something
Ricky
like that.
Douglas
Yeah.
got caught holding the ball by Merritt, and then like 30 seconds later, he just puts his shoulder through Merritt's face, and Merritt just gets murdered. And yeah, his average probably would have obviously been affected, but his average 104. You could probably put that up to 105 without that being an effective
So
game,
like,
if he
I
scored
think
well.
I think if you take it out, it took it up to 103 or something. I did a player profile on him.
Yeah. And Essendon didn't have a great year either.
No.
They were good, but there was a couple of games they lost to Carlton.
Yeah.
That game was. Oh,
And he's averaged around that 110 mark twice before, which gives you a bit of confidence and bit of a concern with, was it the ankle through the pre-season? But if he lights it up JLT style, then maybe you might consider. Is there anyone else you wanted to talk about in the midfield? I mean, Rory Sloane's a guy who's done it before, but I don't think you'd pick him. He's in 7
Adelaide, I just don't like Adelaide.
They're a bit off, aren't they? I mean,
Let me have a look.
what are
here,
they going
Daniel.
to do? You know, what are they going to
I
do?
should know this off the top of my head, but let me.
I feel like it's, you almost want to put your draft cap on
Oh.
for this part of the chat. Because it's sexy to talk about point of difference players, but in the midfield, just keep it straight. But you've got something for me.
Yeah, I've got a little nugget here for you.
Nugs.
If Elliot Yeo was a defender, he would have been picked in 25% of teams.
Oh, yeah.
But because he's a midfielder, he will not get. He's on 6%,
Yeah.
and he will average very well in the same role that he's doing.
It's this natural thing when a guy is a defender one year, breaks out, and then we go, now he's pure midfielder. We're like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
I can't go near him.
Yeah, well, same thing happened with David Swallow. He had that year.
Yeah.
He had that year of defender, and he was just like, ugh. He was like average 102 or something.
Yeah.
And then he had the same year the next year as a midfielder, and no one looked at him because there's so many more options in the midfield. But
and Yo's got a bit more ceiling than Swallow too.
He loves a little 150, 160 daddy because he can kick goals too, and he just gets intercept mark. Him and Jeremy McGovern just they're the reason they won the premiership.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Having a look at the prospectus, it really does talk about
the prospectus.
His clearance work was outstanding.
No, Elliot Yeo would be a great,
Permanent
even like a early upgrade target again. If you can, like upgrade Miles to Yeo, for example, or upgrade Miles to Duncan, that'd be a great upgrade target because they're just consistent all year, except for that game against Geelong where he scored like 1 point for 3 quarters and then scored 37 points in the last quarter or something. Yeah, which is great.
I think it is interesting to talk about because some people like to have a point difference.
They do, just for the sake of
It's hurt
it.
me previously, hence I'm keeping it simple. You know, I've gone Shield way back. I've gone Bontempelli before. I've gone Hanbury before. And there's probably others too that have hurt me. But it's always food for thought. I mean, people like to talk about it, but...
If we want to get super duper potty, maybe getting into the realms of draft again, but Jarrod Pollock and Aaron Hall, people might be attracted to them. There's when a player gets to a new club, I'll just call it the Devon Smith effect.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this player's at this new club, they're going to immediately do well, but you have to make sure you do your research on them and watch their JLT and watch their early games. So, for example, Jarrod Pollock and Aaron Hall. I keep calling him Alan.
You had a couple of vodkas for breakfast? I'm hearing you with Aaron Hall. You just take a minute there to just calm yourself down. But I don't think Pollock's the sort of guy to go, unless you're talking draft. Hall might be, because he's shown on a very small sample size.
First four games of last year.
But he has shown, you're right. Probably talking more drafty, but... and look, I think it's well documented that if you're going mid-price in your midfield, tell you what, Taranto, keep an eye on him.
Timmy.
Definitely put him on your shortlist for draft. Not yours, because you pick him before me, I'll lose my shit. But
are we going to do a draft video?
Yeah,
maybe just like film some clips during the draft.
Yeah, I think we'll do some form of that. That'd be good.
Because I reckon a lot of people would be interested in draft stuff as well. Because it does. If you're good at draft, you'll be good at classic. Because SuperCoach draft, it's not about the players like the premiums that score well. It's about knowing your gems that are going to score well. And if you can translate that to SuperCoach Classic, you can start picking those gems in your backline, and all of a sudden you've got like who was good last year that came out of nowhere in defence.
Well, I remember I got Brodie Smith back in the day.
Yeah,
my last pick of the draft, and that's just. It sounds obvious now, but at the time it was just a random bloke averaging 78 in South Australia, and no one really cared. But
it's like Chook. No one picked Tom McDonald last year, and Chook picked him up in the draft, and he was like the best forward the whole year. Just like, oh my god.
But you're right. It's most people's knowledge will last until a certain point of player.
Yeah.
It's when you can know those ones that you get deep into the draft, and everyone's scrambling, they're losing their mind when there's 30 seconds left, and we just go bang. There's Timmy Taranto for you, or Hopper, or Jarrod Berry, or something like that. But I think it's well documented that if you're going to go mid-price, go Miles. I don't know if you need to throw around too much about that.
You could go Libra if you wanted to.
You could go Libra.
Yeah. Don't go crazy. Yeah. Midfield is such a... it can really burn you in the midfield if you pick a mid-price. So if you want to pick mid-prices, do it in the forward line or the back line, but don't touch the midfield or ruck because they can burn you.
Can burn you brutally. Do you? Would you like to discuss a bit of backline, mate, or would you like some other topics? Or...
Backline, but just on our little notepad there.
Yes.
While we're talking about JLT and research, if you want to be good at SuperCoach, watch the JLT.
Yeah.
Do your research.
Absolutely.
That's the note.
You got to.
I just read that note out.
And you do have to watch it. You
can
look at the stats, but they can lie to you.
Yeah, they can. They can.
You know, just because a guy got 3 clearances doesn't mean he's playing midfield. You know, you've got to look at, even if he doesn't touch the ball, if you see where he's lining up stoppage after stoppage, you go, well, he didn't have a great day today, but he's playing where I want him to.
Yeah.
So.
And you know, even the JLT lies to you as well. Like they could just be playing this player in that position, and then you get to round one and they're playing a completely different position and they suck.
Yeah.
So that's why you got to watch it. Just watch them and just like see what they do and think like, is it worth me picking this player based on that form?
It's not always about who's playing too, but who's not. You know, if so and so's dominating,
You gotta
but Oliver
think of
and
the whole picture.
Brayshaw are out.
Yeah.
You know, well maybe that's going to change when they come back. So.
Yeah. Yes.
But we have a wealth of options in the backline. I think it's
Great
our
segue.
best amount of premium options
Yeah.
in the backline that we've ever had. Often we look at a Deledio or someone like that, but we have genuine defenders. I mean, Lloyd you can have confidence in. Laird, Sicily, Simpson without Doherty will be solid again. I think Whitfield's an outstanding selection. 2 130s in the finals when
Whitfield
Williams
is
came
just
back.
like one. Whitfield sort of is in the mould of Lloyd and Laird, where
Yeah.
they're essentially a midfielder just playing
Yeah.
back. The only thing with Whitfield is that Williams comes back, and that might affect his scoring somehow. Whether it's for the positive or the negative, we don't know.
Yeah.
But I think they'll work pretty well together.
And I'm in the positive in the
Yeah,
fact that I think
think
he's going to
so.
play midfield.
Yeah, well, I think he's still just playing the wing and just like
Yeah.
rack up all touches on the wing.
Elite runner,
Yeah,
picked as a mid at that top
kick.
pick a few years
back
back.
kick a goal.
Shield goes out. Ward's another year
Good point.
older.
Yeah, Shields out. So
Yeah. And if you want a tiny little sample, the finals last year when Williams was back,
he scored like
it was gorgeous.
One-
A couple of 130s, I
30,
think.
yeah.
Yeah. So tiny sample, but as I break my kneecap.
He just cracked.
But if you're just having a bit of a look, yes, I have Donkey Kong lying around. But who else have we got floating
Let me just
about?
look up.
Yes,
I keep
by all
forgetting who's in
means,
my team,
have a
but-
look in your side, and I'll waffle on about a couple of guys. Michael Hurley and Luke Ryan, I don't think you're picking classic, but I reckon they're not bad little draft options.
Draft nugget.
Yeah, just solid guys, consistent.
Now, do we want to talk about your friend Alex?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we
Okay.
do. Yes, we do. I think
Tell me why.
we're talking Witherden,
We're talking with him.
and I think he's about to have an extremely good season. Average solid numbers last year. He also had a game where I think he only scored 20-something, pinged a hammy, or he pinged something, and that saw him a little undervalued.
I saw a stat the other day. Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right.
He was 6th on the list of players that had averaged like 87 or something in their first however game. And it was like Gary Ablett, Chris Judd, Dane Swan,
Yeah.
someone, then Witherden.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just like, that's got to mean something, I think.
I agree. He was outstanding early. He's a high pick previously, so he's been identified from a long way out. Brisbane are on the rise. He's a designated kicker. We love our blokes to be, because you just get some freebies. It's like, I don't want to kick the ball. I'm going to handball it off to Alex, who's running by for a cheapie.
Yep.
He just switches it. Easy 4 or 5 points. It's very, very tasty. And I can see him, a bit like we've seen Shaw at times. Sometimes it feels like they're cheating. You know, they're just switching it.
Yeah.
They're always the guy that gets to switch back. And it's just, it's easy points at times. The kick-in rule's a tough one to assess as to who will benefit and by how much.
Well, that's a big thing to watch during
Yeah.
the JLTs. How this kick-in rule, and we've been seeing it in the AFLW, how quickly and dangerous it can be when you can just run out of the square.
Yeah. And Witherden
We'll take advantage of that.
takes, I think, 51% of Brisbane kick-ins, and he might take more now. And the same can be said for a lot of defenders, so that shouldn't be the reason to pick him. But it is the reason that maybe, along with natural development, he can go from mid to high 80s into the 90s, and I'm really confident on that.
And we don't need him to.
455
We don't
K.
need him to get 100 every game. We need him to
We
get
just need
85,
95,
95 every week, which he'll
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And if you can get the occasional little 120,
Yeah.
as long as he doesn't shit the bed and
Yeah.
get a 50,
Yeah.
that's fine. But he's at that price where it's not really that much of a risk.
Yeah.
Because if he starts playing crap, okay, you just hold him, and then you can probably get rid of him for
Yeah.
someone.
Like, clearly it'll be annoying, but I
Yeah.
think of all the guys around that range, he's the most tasty dish. And I think,
Really would have loved Sam Doherty to be playing this year.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So disappointing that he did that. But
Yeah.
Connor Blakely would have been a really
Oh.
good option had he not. He just would have.
What did he
Gone
did he do a
into
leg
Neale's
injury or
position.
something?
I can't remember.
He's
but
out
it's
for a long
12
time,
or
though,
14
yeah.
weeks or something.
That's a
yeah,
killer.
Yeah, brutal. He's
There's
been
players
a guy.
like him that are like the ones that you pick from Freo. But
Yeah.
he was playing mid last year. For Freo.
And he has done in snippets, and he was sorely set to do it big time. Take the wheel, mate. What do you got?
Well, I just saw Christian Salem and it just made me laugh. Your mate from last year. Where's Josh Caddy?
Yeah. Yeah, Callum Mills, is that who you're looking at?
No. No, I'll keep that. I need that for draft.
He's not telling me for draft reasons. Savage. Mills has got to be a reasonable option. I personally am not going with him. But
Callum Mills?
I think if he's playing midfield, which looks
was the
likely,
person I was looking for.
Just type it into the search for player if you like, mate. You know, it's a handy little tool. Yeah, love that.
Andrew McGrath from Essendon.
Yeah.
Is another one of those players which I think is just going to absolutely take off. He'll probably be their captain in the next couple of years.
Nah, it's a good point to raise.
He
I absolutely
just
love him.
looks
13% aside. I'm surprised by that.
Yes.
I am and I'm not. Like, I'm throwing a lot of words at you there, but it's sort of surprising because what's he priced at? I can't remember.
$384,000.
Sorry, it's cheapish, isn't it?
It's cheap, and
former number one pick.
He'll average more than 70.
Yeah,
and again, he looked good in the AFLX.
Yeah, AFLX. He's the sort of guy we probably were hoping or expecting more incremental development. You know, 70.
I reckon
79,
he'll go bang this year.
84,
I reckon he'll go crazy.
Where it's been a couple of 70s or few 70s or whatever it is.
But
now he could go back.
It's through tough times at Essendon too, because he was playing during his first year. I think was the top up year.
Yeah. Tell you what, if Shield didn't come to the club, and it's funny how Shield at times we say it helps Merritt, it helps Whitfield, but then you go to Macrae and say it won't necessarily benefit him, because that's just quite simply a better player, more established player who's going to be in that spot. I still think Macrae will make a transition to the midfield.
Yeah.
He's fleet of
still
foot.
will.
He's composed. He's fleet of foot. He's pretty composed.
He's a big boy.
I think his foot skills are the one thing that they want to improve, but nonetheless, I'm sure that'll happen.
He still gets running bounces though.
Yeah.
And he can kick. So
yeah.
He's not a great kick, but
so no, I'm with you there.
He kicked more goals than Zach Merritt last year.
Okay. Yeah. No, very talented player. Yeah. Very talented player.
That's another little nugget there. I think Brisbane and Essendon, if there's any Supercoach relevant players from those teams, I think you can pick them because I think they'll be massive improvers. Yeah. Along with Gold Coast, of course, who'll win the premiership this year.
Okay, Chook. I think it is comforting to pick players that we want to break out in a team that we believe will break out, because you just feel as if natural progression helps everyone, and the stats do show that if you're in a winning team, there are more points on offer.
But don't go out picking 3 breakout contenders on each line. You probably do 1 on each line. Yeah. You need to measure yourself as well.
I reckon if you've got 2 or 3 over your whole field, you probably wouldn't want 4. I don't think.
No, and it's like a mid-pricer rule. Yeah. Like, just don't pick too many mid-prices and have. I feel like Jock Reynolds saying this, but have like a structure. Of the primos and rookies, guns and rookies, or do you want guns and rookies and one mid-pricer in the team, let alone like on a line. But you gotta. Well, it's just coupled with your research. You got to know what you want.
And if you can have a player, if you can have a player that you get 80 to 100k under another premium, he breaks out, does the same output, but you save money. That's where it helps you elsewhere, but it can burn you brutally. As I have seen in the past. But that's how the cookie crumbles. Is there anything else you want to
I would just
jog on about?
Like to. Oh, did you want me to leave?
No. Carry on.
I, for the last couple of years, have run out of trades at the end of the year because I love a little bit of bang bang. Yeah. So, what I've tried to do lately is just hold off for trading as long as I can. Yeah. And the last 2 years I've done that, and I haven't traded until like round 5 or 6, and I found myself behind the pack and chasing the pack all year. Yeah. Because there's a couple of players that I just need gone immediately. There's always going to be a couple of decisions you get wrong every year. Yeah. And last year I think Kane Lambert was one of them for me.
I
Scored a
shouldn't
couple of-
laugh, but
scored
God,
a-
that was a funny watching you absolutely want to kill him at times. Like some of those Friday nights where he just
And that's the thing, they were
stunk
all
the
Friday
place
night
up.
games. He
Yeah.
scored like 120 against Carlton the first week. I was like, yeah, diggy. And then he just like scored 70s.
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like, you can't trade him for a 70. And I eventually traded him at like round 8 and he scored like...
When he's bottomed out.
Yeah,
oh,
it was just like...
Yeah.
So my trading plan this year,
Yes.
it's not a fixed plan. Sorry. I think
He's up on the microphone.
I'm going to... So I've just written down the note.
Yeah.
Lang's trading plan. Trade early to get team right.
Sweet, simple, mate.
Then hold until round 10, roughly.
Uh-huh.
So I might not trade the first week, but, maybe like weeks 3 and weeks 4, I'll just do a couple of correctional trades. Maybe not 2 each week,
Love
but
that word,
yeah, correctional.
Mate.
And then I'll hold. If I know, like if I'm trading in someone good, and then I'll only trade for injuries until round 10. And then hopefully... No, I don't run out, because then you get to the buys and you're like, I'm not going to trade during the buys. Next minute you've spent 9 trades during the buys and you're like,
Yeah.
that's literally half my trades.
I can tell you're serious because you've written it in capitals and the way you caressed the page before.
I only write in
could-
capitals,
I
Daniel,
could
because
sense-
my writing's terrible. But
I could sense you were serious. But no, I agree. And I think the way I view the trades is that you should correct... I said I love that word, correctional.
correctional.
And then I butchered it. But
Yep.
you got 2 rounds before the prices start to change.
Yep.
In
So that's
essence,
when you
you've got
need it.
4 trades.
Yep.
If you're any good at this game, you shouldn't make 4 mistakes off the top. So if you have, use those 4 trades to miss a rookie that has exploded that you
that's-
just don't happen to have.
And that's the main thing I did last year was I missed a couple of key
Yeah.
rookies. Can't remember now, but there was a couple of... Like, I think I had Radigalia when I could have gone someone else in the forward line, and it just killed me because like he was playing, but he was just scoring like 40s.
Yeah, yeah.
And this other player was
And
scoring
I had
like
Henry.
80.
I had
Yeah,
Jack Henry.
I think I missed Jack Henry. I was like, oh, he's not going to be any good. Next minute, he's like one of Geelong's best young players, and he was scoring like 80s.
Yeah.
And I missed it. And like, don't be afraid to like admit defeat or admit failure in one instance, and then fix your problem because it's just going to hurt you in the long run. Because I had Radigalia at the end of the year, and I couldn't trade him out because
Well, that's it.
he
Yeah.
broke his leg.
Yeah. And particularly,
Which was just great for Geelong.
that was
and
really
for
tough for you, wasn't it?
Yeah. Thanks, mate. You're doing my SuperCoach team.
How's your
I just
leg?
had him at the end of the year, and it was just like and like my bench was just full of players that I couldn't trade out because I just made the wrong
dead weight
decisions.
click.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's just like you're stuck, and you're like, well, I can't trade out a primo that's scoring well to generate more money, and you throw yourself for 6.
And the first month is when all these guys, we have guys who debut and they play most of the season.
Yep.
Then there's a few guys that they say,
Yep.
oh, well, they were in the mix for round 1 now, let's play them. Where you get to round 9 and 10, and those bubble boys and the good ones, the rookie ramp, they're less and less and less. And by that stage, you're trying to upgrade premiums and you're trying to not miss out on these guys.
Yeah.
So
I missed Jack
get
Higgins.
it right. Oh,
Missed Jack Higgins. He scored really well last year, but I'm like,
missed
no,
him
he's
too.
an idiot. And I'm not going to
Yeah,
trade
yeah.
him. When I saw his first game, I'm like, And then he got traded out after his first game. I'm like, no, I'm not
That's
going to
right,
get him.
yeah.
Then he came back and he scored a couple like hundreds and was like,
So,
snakes.
yeah.
Snakes.
Definitely, I think, as you said, if you've got it wrong, then call it. It's really tricky if you get a premium wrong because the tendency is to have patience and faith. And that's where you've spent a couple of months doing your research to only trade them out after 2 weeks. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. Like, I stuck faith with Billings and Wingard, and they just dragged me through the hot coals. They just destroyed me. And I can't remember off the top of my head. Off the top of my head, I can't recall, but there has been times where the first couple of weeks haven't gone as well as we may have liked.
Yeah.
I remember when I think maybe Barlow started slowly and then went bang. Fife. That was, one year he killed us, but another year he was good. I think even Fife, he might have scored. Did the Dogs pump Freo and he scored 60? And everyone's like, "Oh my God, get rid of Fife!" I was like, "No, he just had a bad day and his team got thumped."
And then he broke.
So-
That was the year he broke his leg again.
yeah.
He scored like 6 or 7 like 100s, and then
Yeah.
a couple 90s, and then did his leg. But it was
Yeah.
still like you missed. And I missed Jack Macrae last year. I missed him.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to get him. I'll get him next week.
Yeah.
Scored 180. I'll have to get him next week. Scored 170. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's,
And then I just said, you know what? I'm not going to get him in.
Yeah.
Because I've missed him. And then he did his whatever, he injured himself. So
Yeah,
I'm glad I
yeah.
didn't do it, and that's when a decision that I was happy with. But
Yeah. So important to get the rookies right because there's always premiums available, even if it's not the ones you love. There's always guys around the mark. If someone fails, then you can sideways trade. If you miss a rookie, you can't just fabricate those guys who are 120k
yeah,
and averaging 70 odd. You just can't buy those. They don't always come up. So, yeah, you definitely want your bench filled with guys who are playing, unless
Get
you got a
cows
floating donut.
get the cows in.
Yeah, get those
For the
cash cows
slaughter.
in, and yeah, just watch them fatten up and beef up, and then
Ooh.
cash in at certain stages.
Double quarter pounder, add bacon, add
Yeah.
cheese. Thank you very much.
That's it.
Oh.
That's it. You just got to load up on those guys.
Yep.
You got it. But I think that definitely is how you want to go about your trading plan for sure. You can't miss those rookies. There'll always be
Yeah,
premiums.
that's
Don't
the whole
miss your
point
bloody
of
rookies.
SuperCoach is to generate cash and trade up. So
And that's where people get stuck, because even if you know your stuff, if you don't have the money to do what you want to do, you're screwed. You're in all sorts of trouble. You know, if you're trying to go big on some premium and you don't have the rookie to get there, well, you're in a fair bit of strife.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to keep Snapchatting there? Or...
No, I'll just keep recording. I'll just keep recording while we're doing the podcast.
Was there anything else that you had in mind, mate? Because I reckon we've covered it off
Pretty
nicely.
Yeah.
We've gone
What are
through
we
each
at?
line.
Probably
We've
be an
been
hour and a half.
talking for an hour and a half.
It's really hot in this room. It's
Yeah,
really hot.
I reckon I
I'm
noticed that
sweating bullets.
at about 40 minutes. I was like, holy crap, I'm sweating like a pig here. I've got my window open. We had the aircon on
It's too
pre-show,
loud.
but it was a
It's
bit
too loud.
loud. And, yeah, look, it's fair to say it is a bit warm. They said it was
Yeah.
only 24 today, but
Feels hotter than
it's at
yesterday.
32. And
Yeah.
and you
What
do get me
else?
flustered,
What
mate,
else?
but,
I get sweaty anyway. But,
is there any final parting words? I mean, from here, you should have your squad. It shouldn't be super locked in because we've got practice games to come.
yeah, JLT starts
Don't-
on Thursday.
I'm
I'm
so
so keen for
We're going to the
football to
next,
be
we're
back.
going to the Bombers game. Are you going to?
I'll be
that's-
going. Just you'll be going.
Yep.
And I'll be going, but we're not going together.
That's fine.
I'll-
That's fine.
You know,
That's all good.
It's date night. It's
Yeah,
date
okay.
night.
That's cool. That's
Yeah,
really
that's
fine. Moving on. JLT stuff. Don't get too roped in, Jake. You know what I'm saying?
To what?
JLT form.
Tell me.
We need to read into it, but don't get absorbed by it. And I'm talking with your premiums. Because there's guys like...
Tom Rockcliffe last year, he scored really well in the JLT, and everyone was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh, Tom, he's back."
Yeah.
He wasn't.
No.
He wasn't.
No. He was not. He
But
was
it's hard. It's hard to say, like, do your research and watch for JLT scores, and then also say don't get sucked in by JLT scores.
We'll break it into categories. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at Laird, Whitfield, Oliver,
Research
Fife,
the
Kelly.
players who you're looking
Yeah.
at. Don't be
care
like,
what they do.
oh, Jason Johannesson scored 2 games of 140, and
Yeah.
I'll bring him in.
Exactly.
Because I think he did that last year too. He was
Yeah.
dominant, and then he was playing forward for Bulldogs
I
last
know,
year.
it's ridiculous. So, I've got my team. We've all got our teams
Yeah.
at the moment.
Selective research, Daniel.
Premiums, don't care what they do. Unless they look like they're desperately
Unless they get
carrying
injured,
something.
yeah.
And
And
where
they wouldn't
I'm
be
looking
playing
at
if they...
Kelly, I want to make sure he's playing pure mid, even though I'm confident he will. A bit of encouragement to Sam Walsh, just to make sure. Witherden, I want to
rookies.
see.
Look at your rookies.
You're looking at rookies. If you've got those breakouts or mid prices, they're who you're analysing. If Rory Laird comes out and scores 70 and 80, I don't care.
No.
He's done it year on year in the home and away season. Pick the bastard.
He's
So,
just getting
just
some
go with
miles
him.
into the legs.
yeah, so don't... Because you see previously, like, someone doesn't go as well, their price is 600k, and everyone's like, oh my god, 65 from... Like, who cares? Back them in for what they've done for 5 years, not off 25 minutes of JLT, Jake.
Yes, Daniel.
So I'm just telling you,
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, just do your research. Do your
And with those
due
guys...
due diligence. I just sent a Snapchat to some of the boys, and
Yeah.
Watto just sent me back.
So.
Lachie Neale will end the season as the number 1 Supercoach scorer.
Well, we mentioned you in the podcast, Watto, so tune in, you prick.
I hope for your sake, Jack, he does. But
Yeah.
I severely doubt that.
What did he say? One...
He'll end
The highest.
Lachie Neale will end the season as the number 1 Supercoach scorer.
Well, that's why you're irrelevant, Jack.
Yeah, that's why Lachie Neale's relevant. That's why Brisbane's relevant.
Just if you're listening, Jack, you're not a threat in draft either. not a threat.
Oh, is he
but,
playing? I didn't even realise.
Yeah, don't have to worry about it. But
Yeah, I think that's it really.
yeah, that is.
The only other note here was that you're wearing a black and white striped shirt, and to bring that up because you look like you're one of the gondola drivers in Venice. But
Why'd you save that juicy nugget for the hour 33?
because the fans will listen to the end, mate.
Oh,
Don't
true,
you worry.
true. I will timestamp this one because
It's a Langer's end. They'll listen to the end.
yeah, true. They do get around.
Special
you, but,
guests. Welcome to Langer's SuperCoach.
Yeah. Well, no, good stuff, mate. Thanks
Yeah.
for joining me. I
No worries.
appreciated busting out a bit of SuperCoach
Advance.
content.
Yeah.
And we might grab some lunch or something, I think.
Yeah,
'cause I'm
sounds great.
fairly
I
peckish.
really feel like a double quarter pounder had bacon now.
Yeah, add some bacon to that bad boy.
I'll screenshot my team and we'll put our teams up
Yeah,
as
yeah.
we're talking. Or you might put the teams up
Yeah,
as we're talking
yeah.
about it, or timestamp. This is Shorty. This is Langers. Feel free to leave me some comments in the comments, guys.
Definitely.
Feel free to follow my page, Jake Langley Photography.
No,
and-
give it a pump. Definitely give it a shout out.
Yeah,
Get
I do
on
a
the
bit of photography stuff, and I've helped. Oh, actually, this is a good segue.
Yeah.
I've been doing a bit of work with Daniel, and we might have a bit of a video
Yes.
coming before the start of the season. A bit of just like
Absolutely.
a skit that we'll post up, and
Absolutely.
hopefully everyone enjoys it. Enjoys that. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Get along to Langer's channel. Get around to Tizio 100
yeah.
as well.
Tizio 100 as well. Can't forget
give
about
him a
him.
shout
He's
out.
not here currently, but
If you
he
want to
does
know
good
how to
football.
kick him from the boundary line,
If you want to know how to
He's
kick a
your man.
torp from 52 metres out on a 45-degree angle, Tyson's your man.
and also if you want to mow the lawns after 2 months. I'll be so good if you listen to this.
What's that?
Clearly,
Tyson?
I'm just having a bit of fun there, Tiz.
What's that, Tyson? You mow the lawns at 8 o'clock at night? Yeah, sure. I'm sure the neighbours love you.
How's Gav going? Anyway, we're getting off topic, but
Just, do you want to do another episode just a Tizio roast?
Tizio roasting. No, get around him.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe away if you haven't already. Ring that bloody bell or do what you need to do. And we'll be back soon. Cheers.